I wonder if you've been using this time in lockdown to look across your bookshelves and work out what to read. And I wonder, when you've selected your book, what sort of book you've chosen. Maybe you've gone for some science fiction. Maybe escapism there is what's getting you through this time. Maybe you're more into horror books. Maybe you like to be scared as you read. Maybe your choice is a thriller. Maybe you love the excitement of the chase and the plot as it moves fast. Maybe your choice of book is to go back to one of your childhood books where you find comfort remembering what you used to read as a child. Maybe your choice is a great detective story, the greatest detective stories ever written. Maybe your choice of book is a romance. Maybe you love the twist of the plot. Or maybe not. Well, I wonder whether there's been a particular book that you've been getting into during lockdown. Maybe a book you've never read before. Maybe it's a classic that you've loved before and you've gone back to. I'm prepared to bet that if you've been in your house a little while, you've got a shelf somewhere of books that are gathering dust. Maybe you've got things on there like an atlas and a dictionary that you used to use a lot quite a few years ago, but now with the advent of the internet and spell checker, you don't really pick them up very much these days. Maybe there's a photo album on the shelf that you haven't looked at for some time. Maybe you've got a recipe book sitting there of recipes that you've never really got round to trying. Maybe you've got things like the complete works of William Shakespeare gathering dust on there. You tried to read it once and you never really got past the first few pages of Romeo and Juliet, and now it sits on your shelf gathering dust. Maybe you've got a Bible sitting there gathering dust. Well, these books that sit on our shelves gathering dust can often have more influence on your life than you might imagine. Let's take the complete works of Shakespeare as an example. Just about 10 days ago, William Shakespeare's birthday was celebrated. And there's loads of words and language that we use that originate from Shakespeare. If you've ever said, "Oh, I've waited with bated breath," if you've ever gone to a party and said, "Well, I tried to break the ice," if you've ever refused to budge an inch, if you've ever said, "I'm fancy free," those phrases all originated from Shakespeare. If you've ever looked at a person and said they're faint-hearted, if ever you said they deserve to be hoisted with their own petard, if you've ever said they've got a heart of gold, if you've ever said that person they're a laughingstock, if you've ever said they've eaten me out of house and home, if ever you've looked at someone and said they are the devil incarnate, if ever you've said they wear their heart on their sleeve, if ever you've said they're the milk of human kindness, if ever you've said they play fast and loose, if ever you've said, "Oh, they set my teeth on edge," if ever you've said good riddance to anyone, those phrases originate from Shakespeare. If ever you've said, "Neither a borrower nor a lender should you be," if ever you've said, "Jealousy is the green-eyed monster," if ever you've said, "As luck would have it," those phrases originate from Shakespeare. If ever you've said, "That's cold comfort," if ever you've said, "Forever and a day," or "For goodness sake," or "It's a foregone conclusion," if you've said, "It's come full circle," if you've said, "In my heart of hearts," or "In my mind's eye," if you've said, "It's as dead as a doornail," if you've said, "All the livelong day," if you've said, "One fell swoop," if you've been on a wild goose chase, if you've said, "Love is blind," those phrases all come from Shakespeare. Isn't that incredible? So many language and sayings that we use come from this one playwright. Now, there's another book on this shelf as well, where that's had a massive influence on the language that we use, and it's this book here. It's the Bible. So many phrases we use originate from this book. If you've ever said, "Eat, drink and be merry," if you've ever said, "For everything there's a season," that comes from here, this Bible. If ever you've said, "Well, that's like forbidden fruit," if ever you've described something or someone as a fly in the ointment, if ever you've said, "The love of money is the root of evil," that comes from this book, the Bible. If ever you've said, well, they're like the blind leading the blind. If you described a person as a good Samaritan, if you said how the mighty have fallen, if you said they're like wolves in sheep's clothing, if you said they're nothing but skin and bones, if you said the powers that be, if you describe someone as a scapegoat, if you've ever said, I see eye to eye with that person, those phrases originate from the Bible. If ever you've said, rise and shine, or another one bites the dust, or we got out by the skin of our teeth, or I was broken-hearted, or it was a drop in the bucket, or that was a real fall from grace, or let's go the extra mile, or he who lives by the sword dies from the sword. Those phrases originate from the Bible. If ever you said pride comes before a fall, if ever you said put words in one's mouth, if ever you said it's a sign of the times, if ever you said stay on the straight and narrow, if you said it happened in a twinkling of an eye, if you said I want to wash my hands of the matter, if you said I'm at my wit's end, if you said I need to weigh that in the balance, if you said the writings on the wall, those phrases all originate in the Bible. But here's the thing. The Bible's influenced our language just like Shakespeare has, but the Bible's had a massive influence on our culture as well, particularly in our country. Our natural instinct to care for others comes from a history built on the teachings of the Bible, where we're told to love our neighbour as we love ourselves. Our NHS is found upon those principles. Our justice system in this country is built upon the principles of this book. And the Bible hasn't just shaped our culture, but it's actually changed lives through history as well, and it continues to change lives today. Christians make a bold claim about this book. Christians claim that if you read this book, you can hear God's thoughts, you can read God's words, you can see God's heart revealed and opened up to us. You can actually meet God himself in this book. Christians claim this is the most valuable thing we could ever own. Not a boring record, but a living word. So during this lockdown, if you're tempted to pick up a book, here's my advice to you. Pick up this one. Dust it off and read it for yourself. If you haven't got a copy, you can read it online these days. Details of that are in the description of this video. If you've not ever read it before, my main advice to you is to start at one of the accounts of Jesus' life. There are books in the Bible called Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. Start there. But why don't you use this opportunity to look at these words that have influenced your culture, your history and your life, even though you might not have realised it. Read them for yourself. Stay home, stay safe, and read a good book.